Good morning everyone. We are delighted to welcome you all to this webinar on Camu Rubric-based formative assessment with LMS. Brought to you by global EdTech solution provider Camu. Here are the key takeaways of the webinar. Understand how rubrics can help in achieving greater objectivity to assessments. Making a student an active stakeholder in the evaluation process. All about rubrics and creating one in Camu. Linking rubric to assessment, thereby leading to high self-awareness in students. We will continue with the webinar after a short video introduction. Thank you all for joining us. Now introducing Shaik Fayazuddin, Product Specialist Camu.
Very good morning to all the academic leaders who have joined this session. So we thank all of you for joining this session on the rubric. The agenda would be to take you through a small presentation on rubric. Post that in the live demonstration how rubric can be configured in the system and how you're able to actually achieve the outcomes through the rubric. Post that parallelly you can keep raising your questions. Our team would be moderating it, and towards the last 15 minutes we'll have a complete questionnaire on this. So let me get started with the session. So as most of us all know, rubric is an assessment tool for your formative assessment or to do your multi-level evaluation, right? So we'll quickly go through why would there be a great need for rubric, how is that we are configuring it in Camu, and how we are able to leverage all the benefits out of a rubric. So as we all know, pretty much the typical assessments that we don't do it at a multi-level, or neither we do it at with a greater objectivity, right? So just to take you through a quick example. In a workshop, one of a principal gave a same copy of a short essay to different participants, where obviously it was a teacher workshop. So each of the teachers evaluated it. Post the evaluation, when the results were seen, probably one teacher gave 70%, some other gave 40%. So you can see the huge variation in the result, right? Now all of us can relate to the kind of implications that it can lead to. Right, when probably where marks become the or the grades become the prime most criteria for students, probably in terms of their student progression or in terms of their job prospects, right? So that could definitely be extremely challenging, right? So as a fraternity of academic and as academic leaders, the points we should definitely be pondering over is any kind of evaluation or assessment that we do, what is the objectivity? Are we doing it more of a knowledge-based evaluation, or is it more for a specific skill set of a student? As you can see, is it more for the citations, or is it more for the analysis of the results? Or what would be the basis of the assessment, right? And student as a major stakeholder of this process, right? Is he actually involved in this assessment? Does he know where he would be graded for what, right? Is there any goal setting? or is there any expectations that we set up, right? Why not make a student a part of this, sit along with them, create a rubric, tell them that these are the 6 areas on which you will be evaluated. And each of these areas, if you reach this particular level, you would be scored this much, right? So why not make a student active stakeholder of this whole process, right? So these are the exact challenges with which we started building a rubric in Camu, and which I'm going to demonstrate to you in the next few minutes, right? Yeah, typically a rubric will have 3 major components. Obviously, the criteria on which I am actually going to assess your performance. And then there are multiple levels to these performance, and every criteria and sub criteria will obviously be defined with a descriptor that will tell you what is the range on which I'm going to evaluate you, right? So obviously, if you see across the globe, right, we have been more of the teaching learning process is becoming student centric, where in order to make it more student centric, obviously your evaluation or assessment pattern would be one of the major criteria. So multi-level evaluation, where I am going to evaluate a particular student in different levels, is what is the need of the hour. Probably across the globe, many policies are also being made around this. Just to give an example, in India, the government in the lines of NEP 2020 has come up with something called as PERC, which would be a rubric-based assessment model, right? So as I said, we have a very reliable, dependable, and efficient framework to build the rubric, where we have made it like an empty canvas, as a rubric is going to be very specific to each of the staff. So they can go ahead, create the rubric, and pretty much link it to any kind of assessment. As an end user, student will be able to see what are my strong areas, what are areas that I need to improve on, right? So that is what we are going to see in the next few minutes during the presentation. So during the Camu's product demonstration. So let me take you there. Now, what you're looking at is the LMS interface of Camu. As a professor, whenever I join the system, if you can see, Professor Angela is able to see all the courses that she's dealing in this current semester, right? I can go ahead. See, this is where I build my content, where you can see the content hub here, where the topics can be added in the form of pages, files, or assessments, right? For today's discussion, we'll be deep diving into the rubric part of it. So this is where you will have the complete repository of all the rubrics that you go ahead and create, right? Now, just to show you one rubric, again, we all know that rubrics could be of multiple types. There could be analytic rubrics, there could be checklist rubrics, there could be a holistic kind of rubric. So as I said, it is immensely flexible. You can go ahead and create your own rubric. Now for this session, I just created a demo rubric on, let us say, your final year project work, right? Now if you see here, it gives me a quick consolidate that it is having 4 criteria, and 29 points is the total or the maximum marks that can be scored based on that rubric, right? I'll show you how I'm going to link this to assessment also. Before that, if you can see, this is where I define my criteria. And if you can see, let us say normally for a project work, right? So one of the major criteria I defined here is how did he organize his thesis work, or probably how did he organize his overall say the final presentation or the thesis defense, right? So was it exemplary? Was it beginner stage, or was it at an accomplished level? Based on that, I can have descriptors to it, and I've given it a range of marks. Say if it is exemplary, it will be somewhere between 10 to 8, right? So I can either have the marks as a range, or it can be a specific mark. Let us say, how was this problem statement, right? The problem statement was like very good, or it was like exceptional, it was poor. Based on that, I can see the grading here, right? Similarly, how are their citations, right? So tomorrow when I back refer it to different reference papers, how are the citations, right? So I can define it. Similarly, let us say overall analysis of the results, if accuracy was 80% or if it was 50%. So you can even observe the criteria need not be limited to 3 or 4. Maybe some criteria, it can have 3 sub criteria. some criteria may have like 6 descriptors or 6 sub criteria. So you can go ahead and pretty much define all that, just to show you how easily you can create your own rubric. Like I have one more rubric on mathematics. Let me edit that and showcase, right? Say for algebra assessment, right? If you can see, you get a empty template. Wherever I want, I'd like to add a new set of rubric. I can simply go ahead, duplicate from my existing one, or even start a new criteria, right? So let us say if I'm wanting to duplicate from an existing one, I can go ahead and change the long descriptors and pretty much other things. And you can see here the one that I've duplicated. Then I'd like to add few more sub criteria here. I can go ahead, give it a further range, right? Right, and add further sub criteria here, right? Or if you'd like to say change the major descriptor, the long description can be changed here. And I'm able to change the short description pretty much here, right? Or I don't want it as rating, I'd like to have it as a score, right? I would like to give it between so and so, right? I can go ahead and choose to do that, right? So that is how easily the rubric can be built. And once I have created a rubric, and rubrics are normally very specific to individual faculty members, right? So they can choose to create their own rubric, or at a centralized level, you can have a team that can be building multiple rubrics for you, and you can have the complete repository of the rubric here. Tomorrow, whenever your respective faculty are choosing to link it to any assessment, they can go ahead and link the rubric to those specific assessments, and they can choose to evaluate the students on the rubric itself. Now I'll take you and I'll show you how it can be linked to the assessment. Post that, how is the experience of a student to actually see himself, how is being evaluated, right? Now let me link it to a specific assignment. Now this is a screen where I can go ahead and build my assignments. So I'm just opening up an existing assignment, right? So if you can see, pretty much you can create your assignment. This is a content hub where you can create your assignment, and you can add multiple files. You can see pretty much there's virtually no limitation on the size that can be going in. What kind of activity this is? So it could be a project work, it could be a group activity, it could be like a specific assessment. You can even link it to a quiz. All these are the possibilities. And then what kind of grading mechanism you use, and then you can even link it to a grade system. Again, Camu's LMS, unlike your standalone LMSs, we are not dependent on any SAS. We have a unified system. So you can actually pull out multiple grade systems to which you're wanting to link, so that your COE can actually directly assess the data here, right? So even the student progression is automated in the system. But again, you can define what is the maximum mark. The system will now, maybe the rubric I've created is for 30 marks or 29 marks, but I'd like to extrapolate the scores, depending on the grading system, to 100 mark, or maybe downscale it to a 15 mark. So all those processes are fully automated in the system. Now this is where I'm actually linking them to the rubric, right? So it shows me to which rubric it is already linked in, or let us say I want to add to a new rubric. So I can either create it over the go, right? I'm giving an assignment, then and there, if I'd like to go ahead and add criteria and keep on creating a rubric, I can do that. Or there's a repository that you already have from which you would like to find a rubric. You simply search the rubric here, right? And you're able to see whichever, or based on the course that you have, right? So there could be multiple courses. Each of the courses may have a different set of rubric, right? I can choose whichever rubric I'd like to, and then I can link it to that particular assignment, right? Now, once I link a rubric to specific assignment, then your other relevant information in times of assignment, like would you allow late submission? Probably I create it in the month of April, but I want this to be open only in May for the students. Give specific assignments to specific students. All these are the possibilities in the system, right? Now, once I go ahead, again, we can also have a social angle to it, where if I would like to allow a class conversation, a discussion forum will open up on that particular assignment, right? And then faculty and the students can pretty much discuss over there, right? Now, once I have given the assignment, right, now the student goes ahead and probably is able to see the assignment. Let me also, I'll show those screens to you. Is able to see the assignment and is able to upload the content, or maybe give his a kind of response to that particular assignment, and then post that. In a typical evaluation process, what do I do? Maybe I give them a final mark, let us say something like 80 out of 100, right? Or somebody says 50 out of 100, right? But the student will no more be in a position that's the end point for him, right? He's no more in a position to understand, when I get an 80, why do I get an 80? Where is my which is the area that I'm strong in, right? Which is the area that I would have to improve, right? Or somebody gets a 50, right? He'll be very depressed or disappointed. Why did I get only a 50? What is the area that I have to improve, right? That is exactly what one of the key takeaways of what Rubric can do for you, right? Now let me show that to you, right? Even for a faculty, the evaluation will be more realistic, where I'm actually evaluating him on multiple parameters, right? So I'm not actually drifted off by a few things, like there could be students who could be very well presenters. There could be students who might have were not in a position to present very well, but maybe their results or their analysis was a lot stronger than the later ones, right? So I will not get drifted by one particular component of evaluation, right? So there will be a, yes, please.
Fayaz, there are a couple of questions that have come from the audience.
Sure.
I thought it may help for you to answer them while you're at the demo, right?
Sure.
Dr. Tanu wants to know, can the entire rubric be duplicated?
Yes, very much.
Okay, and the second question is from Anand Patak. Wants to know, kindly shed some light on types of rubrics and subjects/topics they relate more to. So
Sure.
I thought while you are explaining, you may want to address these questions as well.
Sure, not a problem. I believe first question is answered. Talking about the type of rubrics, let me finish this particular part of it just to have that coherence. Then I'll throw some light on the type of rubrics as well, and how easily those also can be configured in the Camu system, right? Yeah, thank you for that, Caroline. Now, post, I link it to an assessment. Now, as a faculty, when I'm trying to evaluate those assessments, right, this is the Camu's Gradebook, where you can get to see all the assignments that have been submitted by the students. I get to see how many need grading, how many have been submitted, what is the due date. So I click on any one of the assignments. It shows me how many have submitted, what is the average grading, what is the due date, and I get to see all the participants. And whenever a student submits any assignment, I get to see when did they submit, what is the timeline, what is their overall grade. But before that, I'd like to see what is that the student has submitted, right? And then this is exact differentiator. When I see the assignment, I'd like to evaluate them rather than putting it as a score. I go ahead and I'm able to evaluate them on the rubric itself, right? So I can say, okay, his organization skills are at this level. Maybe the problem statement was decent. That citations could have been better, right? Similarly, the analysis of result was real good, right? So this is how I'm going to actually evaluate them. And the system is, the marks pertaining to each of the criteria have been automatically taken. And just in a case, if it is a range, I can choose to give. So for example, it is 2 to 0, I'd like to give them 1. Right? When it is already defined, it is already taking it, right? And then I can simply go ahead and submit it. That's all, right? So based on that, it will extrapolate the result, and the system is giving a grade to the student, right? Now that is how, as a faculty, I will have a holistic approach towards evaluation, right? I'm actually evaluating them based on the specific parameter. And student himself, if at all, you would like to build the rubric along with the student before the assessment, you're making him a very active stakeholder in this whole assessment process, right? Now to show you from a student's perspective, right? How would I see my, analysis, or how would I be able to see my own, evaluation, right? Let me log in as a student and take you there. Right now, as a student, I get to see all the courses that I've registered, right? Now I get to see these are my assignments that I might have submitted, right? So I'll actually be able to see my results in my gradebook, right? So where I see my feedback. All right. Likewise, I'd like to see it at a rubric level. Now, if you see, this is exactly the kind of multi-level evaluation that you're doing it, and as a student, I'm able to view it, right? Okay. On my organization of the thesis defense, what was my level, right? What could have been the maximum score? How was my problem statement? How were my citations, right? How was my analysis of results? I can actually see the rubric itself, right? But this was exactly on how I was evaluated, right? Then I get to know, my strong areas, my weak areas, all of that is possible, right? So that is how a rubric can, accomplish your final objective of giving a full-fledged formative assessment. And a student, as a major stakeholder of this process, is completely, having a full, reliable, as well as a very transparent framework, right, on which how I am being evaluated, right? Now, to take the next question, I believe there was one of the question on the types of rubric, right? So let me quickly take you there. Right. Typically, these are the types of rubric that you see here, right? There's one, we majorly divide it into four criteria. This is a generally accepted literature in rubric. So if you see, the analytic rubric is where the one that I have shown you. It is more at a level where I am trying to let us say evaluate a final year thesis project, or where you have multi dimensions on which you'd like to evaluate them. Then there is a development rubric, where, as you see, it is a most like a subset of a analytic rubric, right? Whereas rather than performances, it is more like a skill and attribute. Say, for example, say some chemistry titration is happening, right? So student is doing his titrations. I'd like to see, I'll say these are the three parameters. Let us say how much time you do it, where you're exactly getting that stage change or the color change in your titration, and maybe finally how are my results. So I keep on doing it. Probably I do it in the month of April. He practices, comes back and does it in May. Then he does it in maybe let us say June. So in this 3 months, on the same rubric, I keep evaluating them, right? So that by the end of the 3rd month, and when I compare it to the first rubric, I get to know what is the difference in his skills that he has developed, right? So that is more like a developmental rubric. Likewise, there is a holistic rubric. Majorly, it's not very different from the analytic rubric. Yes, you'll have a lot more criteria, and you can also group quite a few criteria together. So that is that's like a holistic rubric. And then we have a checklist rubric, right? So when I say checklist rubric, it is more like let us say I would like to say same example, right? Maybe he's attending a final evaluation for a lab, right? So I'll have 6 parameters or 6 checklists, right? So maybe let us say, did he finish off all his lab experiments, right? So yes, no, or partial, right? I can have 3 parameters to it. Similarly, is he prepared for the theoretical approach towards that? So yes, no, or partial. So checklist is more like, as the name suggests. So that's more like a checklist rubric. So all these 4 types of rubrics, you can definitely go ahead and build it in the Camu system. I hope that question around the types of rubric is answered, right? Yeah, pretty much that was to give you a quick heads up on what rubric is, how you can build it in the system, and how you're linking it to different assessments, and how the student is actually able to get the outcome based on that, right? So, Kellen, I feel we can open this forum to questions now.
Right. Okay. So are we, I think it's open for question and answer. If you have any question, please feel free to type in your questions to Q&A box. And before we could just move on to the question, I just want to launch a small poll.
Sure.
we've just launched a poll. I would appreciate if the attendees can just answer the, or like just answer the poll. It'll help. Yes, Dr. Ankita, we will share the recording of this session for sure. Yeah. So if you're done with polls, probably you can use the chat window or Q&A window to type in your questions. Faiz will be more than happy to answer your queries. Faiz, we shall wait for a few seconds to see if there are any questions coming from the audience. Or is there anything else you would like to highlight, Faiz?
Yeah, I'm good, Kellen. I think we can open this forum to questions.
Okay.
Or just to yeah, I can also show them few different domain-based specific rubrics. Say what you have seen is more like at an engineering kind of a setup. Let me show you a quick K-12 kind of a rubric, and also maybe let us say a medical kind of a rubric. Maybe I'll just take the next 5 minutes and do that, and then
for sure we have, yes,
I hope
we
that's
have
okay.
time. Yes, yes, yeah,
sure. Now, for those of you who've joined from the allied health sciences or the medical background, you can see pretty much Dr. AJ's screen where all the courses that Dr. AJ teaches, and I'm able to have yeah, if you can see, this is where I can see the medical related content. So in the terms of rubric, so if you can see this is a rubric that we built for clinical competencies, right? So whenever most of the medical domain students or the to-be doctors go through a lot of clinical sessions, right? So where again, even in India, for the competency-based medical education, the CBME, right? So even there, you are linking it to quite a few parameters, and rubric will definitely be handy in those cases. So if you can see, for the clinical competencies, based on the diagrams and sketches, based on the procedure on which you're actually doing that clinical procedure. Likewise, the medical conclusions that you can actually come out with, right? So these would be the cases. So normally, I believe in medical, the development rubric will play a major role, where you can keep on do a continuous evaluation of how their skill sets are being improved, because the domain of learning that would be affected in medical domain is rather than cognitive, it is more of a psychomotor domain, right? So yeah, pretty much that is how you can build it in a medical environment as well. Let me also show you a K-12 related rubric. Give me one moment, let me log in. It's more for a stool kind of a K-12 kind of a segment, right? Where if you can see, let us say there's a language course being taught by Professor Monica, right? I get to see quite a few rubric, right? So for example, in terms of literature, right? So here I get to see, based on the how the student is able to comprehend that particular literature piece that has been discussed, right? How is he able to summarize it? Is he able to follow along, right? And you can see all the sub criteria, right? So yeah, that was just to give you a quick idea on you can actually go ahead and build multiple types of rubric, and we are again it can be to any domain, right from K-12 to engineering, management, or even health sciences, right? So yeah, that was to quickly give you some glimpses on the multiple types of rubrics that we have built, and just to showcase the capabilities as well, right? So yeah, we can go ahead with the questions now, Caroline.
Right. Okay. What types of reports are available? Consider the scenario of a group of schools.
Sure. In terms of reporting structure for rubric, what we have done is, as of now, yes. Say for example, I built a rubric, and as a student, he's able to see at what level he stands. Right, he's able to actually go ahead and download a template of the rubric itself, where on which I'm actually able to evaluate. Right. So tomorrow we can actually, the aspiration is to build a report where I can have the complete rubric consolidated rubric evaluation, or the consolidated rubric for a group of students in the whole batch, and I get to see who is the what is the average performance of the students, right? What is the top performance, like how many set of students are standing at that particular level, right? How many set of students are lacking in this particular skill? Similarly, I can also get skill based gap, right? Say for example, the comprehension ability, right? Maybe that ability alone, I get to see how much percentage of students are at which particular point, right? So yes, those kind of analysis can definitely be built around. We are also trying to learn, unlearn, and we are building this system. Yes, that is a way forward for reporting, Mr. Chanel. Yeah.
Okay. Some of you have asked for the recording of the webinar. For sure, we'll send it across to you. There's another question from Nanda Kumar Savant. In languages, portfolio method is more like development rubrics. Am I correct?
Could you please repeat that question?
In languages, portfolio method is more like development rubrics. Am I correct?
I'd like to understand what portfolio method is. Probably, I mean, if it's okay, Mr. Nandakumar can type it for us here, or
Yeah. Sure. And another question: if you have available rubric references, please share.
Sure. I mean, we have quite a few literature around it. We can probably. I strongly recommend we can have a one-on-one session, and whoever is wanting to ponder a little more into the system, that point in time, we can definitely share the literature as well.
And Dr. Ankita Nanda has a question. We are not getting new rubric option. How to add them? How? I mean, I'm not too clear of the question.
Probably if they are already using the system and they are wanting to add a new rubric, I'll request them. They can connect with the implementation experts who have been assigned to them, and they'll help them with those issues.
All right. Okay. Those are the questions that we have.
Sure.
If anyone, Dr. Ankita or Dr. Tanu Katuria, if you want to have a detailed session, we are more than happy to have a one-on-one session with you. I guess those are the questions that we have. So Nanda Kumar has explained portfolio method. You collect all works of a particular course, like academic writing of the student.
Sure. Yeah. Again, in a very general sense, as you say, language may have multiple parameters on which I'm evaluating a student. But if you specifically say his academic writing, right, and if you'd like to evaluate his academic writing over a period of time, how is it improving, right? If that is the specific case, yes, I would say development rubric is the way forward. I hope that question is answered.
I guess, I think those are the questions from the audience. Like Fayaz explained, I think we have a limited timeline for us to explain what we have in Camu. We are more than happy to have a one-on-one session and address your specific queries. Nanda Kumar is asking, can you throw some light on cornerstone rubrics?
Yeah, I'm afraid I'll have to work on that, and then maybe come back on that.
Mr. Nanda Kumar, we will take this session one-on-one with you. I think we will write into you, and also to all those attending the session today. We will send the recording of the session If you need to have a detailed a demonstration of what we can, how we can help you for your institution, we are more than happy to fix an appointment with the Fayaz and take this forward. And once again, on behalf of Camu, we'd like to thank you all very much for taking the time out to be a part of this session, and have a wonderful day. The recording of the sessions will be sent out to you all. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much.